Yo, Dragon Ball FighterZ is easy to consider one of the flashiest and most interesting and enjoyable fighting games to have come out of the genre in quite some time, but even this wonderful new entry to the Dragon Ball franchise isn't without its own problems. While it may be a great game, I'm going to take a look at 5 different things that I perceive as negative that the game currently has that might make it a little difficult to enjoy the game to the full extent.
Number 1.
A great feature of many fighting games is the ease of play for a one-on-one fight, be it online or on the couch next to one another. When it comes to playing online with some friends, it pretty much just does not work how you would expect it to. Now, this just might be from my personal experience, but in terms of ease of use, all you should technically have to do is find your friend on the friend list and invite them to a quick versus match. But what I found with Dragon Ball FighterZ, it doesn't even come close to that system, meaning that even if you want to play a few matches with some friends, then you are in for a bit of a tough ride. Not only is it painful to try and locate your friend's personal lobby to play them, sometimes the game will report that no rooms were found, thus resulting in a problem that you can't play together for no real reason whatsoever, and it has quickly become one of the biggest problems for the game that I've personally seen.
Number 2.
For me, whilst it's great to see a story mode included in this game, there are times I feel that it is a little bit disengaging, and when you finally do get to a battle, it doesn't present a real challenge. When you first start the story mode, you will feel as if the chapters are pretty short but filled with long cutscenes, so it doesn't feel as if you're doing much apart from reading dialogues. Don't get me wrong, I do love the animation and the overall art style of the cutscenes in the story mode, but reading through all of the dialogue can be a little long and boring unless you're a die-hard Dragon Ball Z fan. I found myself having to skip quite a few of the cutscenes at times, as I was becoming pretty much lazy trying to read through all the text and just pretty much wanted to dive straight into the action. But even when you do eventually get into the action, you're either doing quick tutorials which last around 20 seconds or so for you only to get right back into those long dialogue cutscenes. Even when you're not doing tutorials, some of the boss fights to me were a little bit too easy. So for example, I was at level 2 when I probably faced my first real boss, and he was actually over 10 levels stronger than me, and I still managed to beat him with ease. I know that some of the die-hard fans will disagree that the story mode is mediocre, and to be fair, I haven't finished the story mode as of yet, so it possibly could pick up the further I dive more into this mode. But as it stands, I have played just over 2 hours, and for me personally, the story mode isn't as engaging as I would expect from a Dragon Ball Z game.
Number 3.
Now, don't get me wrong, I know nowadays many games do have their fair share of long load times or long loading screens, but to me, Dragon Ball FighterZ has recently been demonstrating that it quite enjoys its long load times, at least from the first time you load up the game on that particular day. There are so many occurrences of long load times, from battle screens to even just booting up the game, so it's quite hard to list them all in this list, but every time I seem to get done with one loading screen, it almost seems like another one is on its way to impede your overall experience for this otherwise great game. Just like the first problem, this one can also be attributed to the lobby system, forcing the game to load in all these extra online bits that you wouldn't expect unless you chose to go online. But since you don't choose what menu you want to be in to begin with, the game has to compensate for all of them just in case it gets caught off guard, and that to me is probably a bit of a letdown.
Number 4.
It's been quite some time since we've had any form of a decent 2D fighting game for the Dragon Ball franchise, and as such we've been accustomed to so many different characters and variations on our favourite characters from the series. But to me, Dragon Ball FighterZ is one of the first Dragon Ball games in some time to have such a small roster in comparison. Now, whilst it is completely understandable why the roster is much smaller this time around, and that's because the developers have had to put a lot more work into the animation and the visuals for each individual individual characters. Only having 24 characters in a Dragon Ball fighting game though is pretty much unprecedented and hard to look past, especially when some of those characters are simply different versions of the original character. Deep down, I think most will appear as a DLC or part of the season pass, which just makes you think that these companies sure know what they're doing to get that extra buck.
Number 5.
Now, to allow for a wider audience, Dragon Ball FighterZ has brought a simplified auto system to the game, so by button bashing a few attacks, you do manage to get out a relatively simple combo to give the illusion of being great at a fighting game. While this is certainly a nice addition for people who don't typically play fighting games, to me personally, the auto-like nature of these combos mean that many of them kinda do feel really similar to one another, and that's certainly a bad feeling when it comes to fighting games. Half of the fun for me when it does come to fighting games is to perform an incredible combo in the heat of the moment, to beat your opponent and certainly show your skill level. But if you can simply just smash the A button or the X button until the combo chain ends, it ends up feeling quite samey and lackluster for the most part and becomes more boring the more you probably do end up playing the game.
Final verdict.
Yo, despite these 5 negatives which I highlighted, and I must admit that it's pretty much me just nitpicking at the game, Dragon Ball FighterZ is a great fighting game and a refreshing change from the usual Dragon Ball fighting game philosophy of being only 3D fighters. Not only does the gameplay feel incredibly strong and receptive, visually the game looks stunning and looks almost as if it was ripped straight out of an anime, and that's what makes the game aesthetics look so impressive. Regardless of this game's problems, its positives easily outweighs so easily that it's not even a concern. If you need a good fighting game in your life, to me Dragon Ball FighterZ is certainly that game, and probably going to be one of the best fighting games that has been released in the year 2018. Anyway peeps, thanks for sitting through this video as we looked at what I consider cons for Dragon Ball FighterZ. Do let me know in the comment section if you've had a chance to play this game yet and what's your thoughts so far. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so before. And until next urban gameplay video, we definitely say peace out peeps.
Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button for more cool urban gameplay videos.